So John out here with you. It is June 9, 2020. Hope all of you are doing well out here. Is a quick review of Streets of Rage 4 for PlayStation 4 and multi-platform. So it's been a long freaking time, right? From Streets of Rage 3 from 1993 to 94 to right now in 2020, Streets of Rage 4 release. A lot of us are happy that it's here, but I want to tell you as a veteran from playing 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I'll throw little extras here at the end here for you about what I think about it. So initially, your character selections, you do have Axel Stone and Blaze Fielding. You do have Adam Hunter from Streets of Rage 1 finally making his reappearance here all the way in 4. And then you have a couple new characters in Cherry, which is Adam's daughter, and Floyd, which is kind of like a Dr. Zan prototype, as Zan created him. So what I like about the new characters, especially in Cherry, is she's very versatile. She can run, not just forward dash. She can actually run, attack with the guitar, have some nice spatial attacks, be able to get away with the square button. Completely with this game, if you choose to, if I say buttons and it doesn't match up with you can completely customize everything. The one thing that's definitely interesting to try to figure out and get used to, and even though a lot of you might laugh or gawk at this, you can press the triangle button to pick up items. You normally just do that and you hit X, and sometimes when you're playing with your partner, or if you're trying to make it where you hit each other, or if you don't hit each other, if you steal each other's items, usually back in the day you're pressing X, you're going over an item, you're picking it up, you're taking it, and you go, man, I could have used that cupcake, I could have used that turkey. Well, now you don't have to worry about that stuff because there's a dedicated pickup button. It's pretty nice there. Also, sometimes when you're getting thrown by the enemies, like Y signal and stuff like that, you know, whether just pressing circle and X to try to land back on your feet. If you see that little flash in the air, you can just press circle and you bounce right back on your feet. So it's a lot easier in terms of the initial older games, even though it wasn't that difficult, but it's a lot easier to approach in terms of getting back up when being thrown. So a couple different things here in iteration from 2 and 3. See those stars, especially in 3. See those stars in the corner? Normally, when you get a first star, that is a longer iteration of your forward attack. When you get your second star, it's more of a powered up one, and when you get your third star, it's all the way powered up. In Streets of Rage 4, it works a little bit differently. If you use one of the triggers, you access a super move that's unique to every character. So there's no longer an upgraded forward attack. It's just a super move that is unique to every character. That is kind of a disappointment in a way, because it takes out some of the moves that were put into the game initially from Streets of Rage 3. Now, a lot of people want to talk about Streets of Rage 2 and 3, and they say you can't really mess with 2 because it's utter perfection. And even though they put more moves and stuff in 3, there was a lot of differences in between some of the moves that they've made, what was censored, the music that was changed. In Streets of Rage 4, you get what you get. You get 12 levels. You get some pretty interesting character designs. And even with Cherry and Floyd, those are new characters that seem to fit this version of Streets of Rage, this society, this year, whatever you want to say, this setting of Streets of Rage. They seem to fit it pretty flawlessly. They're fun to use. But it is very, very weird to me, alright? Even though it's thrown in the game, and it might just be thrown in the game because it is Streets of Rage, when you're playing, you will unlock characters, and suffice it to say, it's a shorter game. You know, it's a beat 'em up. You're going to get done with it pretty quickly here, and you're probably able to get multiple playthroughs. But if you're going through hard difficulty, if you're going through hardest, if you're going through mania, good luck to you, because the X button, your thumb, it's going to hurt a lot after you're done with it. Even though the game's a lot more fun, and playing on some of the harder difficulties, once you get used to all of it, it is a trek, it's a chore, it's difficult to get through some of these enemies. That's the only thing that makes it a chore, because they have so much health and they're really damn cheap. But that's what you get through playing through these games. You play through it multiple times, that's what it's meant to be done there, and then you get used to it, then you play, and then you see what you can accomplish. So basically, throughout this game, you're going to go through the 12 levels, you're going to get to the end of it, and then you're going to get some unlockables and stuff at the end as you do better throughout the stages. If you complete it faster, if you complete a stage faster, if you complete it with more health, if you complete it just to the best of your abilities, you're going to get more points. And as you unlock more points, you get unlockables. Your unlockables are pretty much unlocks of Streets of Rage 1 characters, 2 characters, and 3 characters. So basically, when you're playing as them, if you go back and you play as Streets of Rage 1 Axel, you're only going to have access to Streets of Rage 1 movesets. So you don't really have those forward attacks or any of that stuff like that, or specials. If you use your special, you're going to call for the police, and that's going to use your star. There's no super moves for those kind of guys. Streets of Rage 2, it's the same way. Streets of Rage 2, remember, you did get access to specials, but the star move is equated to, again, a unique special that you're used to trigger. So Streets of Rage 3 is where it's unfortunate, because when you're using those characters, they did have enhanced star moves as you go along for forward attacks. That is just replaced by a level 3 special. So you can't use it as much as you want. Although I do like the Streets of Rage 3 characters just because they are able to run at all times. That's one of those caveats. You can say I'm blasphemous for liking elements of Streets of Rage 3 better than 2, but it is nice being able to run. All that being said, is Streets of Rage 4 a good game? Yes, it's good for what it is. If it's me and I'm rating these between, the first 4 games as we know it, from worst to best, I would probably say 1, 4, and then you can toss it between 2 and 3. Certain days I say 2, certain days I say 3. Even though I'm one of those ones that like the added movesets of Streets of Rage 3, I could even tell you that I would put 3 ahead of 2 in certain instances. Even though I consider 2 to be one of the greatest beat-em-ups of all time, I like the added movesets and the added depth to it. And also, in the initial game in Streets of Rage 3, I like being able to have the OK meter to be able to do the special. But what's interesting in this game is when you're using your special, although it changes on harder difficulties, the more health it takes away, you can use the square button to your special, and you'll notice your health meter turns green. If you are able to attack and not take damage, you can recover the health that was lost from using your special and use it again. That's a pretty unique setup to Streets of Rage 4. I do like that. And also in Streets of Rage 4, at the time when it's done, you can go back to stage select to try to improve your scores. You can play a boss rush, which is standard in pretty much a lot of beat 'em ups now. But the one thing that you can really say that's never been done before in Streets of Rage 4 that is done in this game is you can play 4-player on the same console, which is nice. It's always only been limited to 2, but unfortunately, you're playing online, you're stuck to 2 players. But if you're playing on the same console and you got 4 controllers, you got buddies over, you can play 4 players. So it sucks that you can't do it online, but it is interesting to have that happen for the first time in Streets of Rage history. I want to close the video out by saying this. It is a good game. If I had to rate it, I'd probably give it somewhere between a 7 out of 10. It is nice to see this game finally here, although there are some things I think that they hit and missed on as far as the movesets and stuff like that. I wish it would have been more unique to 2 and 3 and the way things were done. I want to mention this. I know that there was a Sega lawsuit to Bomber Games, the Spanish company that made the Streets of Rage remake that's readily been available on PC. I know there's been a lot of stuff in the lawsuit as far as some of that stuff has been taken down, but you can go ahead and find it and research it and play it. If you do get a chance to do that and you play the Streets of Rage remake, you will find that they've added some other characters that you can never even get now, like Ash from Streets of Rage 3 that was censored out of the game because he had a little bit of a gay stereotype, or having one of the electric girls like Electra and stuff like that. You can play as her, you can play as Rue, you can play as some of the other characters that you've not been able to play. Yes, you get a Rue cameo in this game, but you can't play as him. There's certain characters that were available here that you can't play as, but the Streets of Rage remake kind of combines all of that stuff into one. That is probably the most definitive Streets of Rage game ever made, even though Sega never released it, which they should have. But until then, you got Streets of Rage 4 and everything else in here. It's a good game, but it's not the best game it could have ever been. Have a good one, guys. See ya.